Good afternoon, lecturer. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Last week, we learned about issues of sex and gender, which was related to gender inequality. For this presentation, it also about gender inequality, but we would like to talk more specifically on gender inequality in the workplace. The purpose of this presentation is we want to find out how women are treated in the workplace and how men salary is significantly higher than women. There are 5 members in this presentation, including me. My name is Rang Heng, Lim Jing Long, Sam Leng An, Tri Ling Sreng, last but not least, Chiu Kim Chua. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the contents of our presentation today. There are 6 points in particular. The first point is about pay gap. Second point, the breaking glass ceiling. Third point, sexual harassment and worth. The fourth point, genders and violence. The fifth point, the changing face of politics. Last but not least, glimpsing the future with hope. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the first point of this presentation, which is about the pay gap. Before I get into more detail about pay gap, I would like to define this key term first. Pay gap means the difference between the average pay of 2 different groups. But for this presentation is particular, or we would like to scope it into the difference between the average pay of men and women. After finishing college, many people want to travel around the world, and they also want to relax on the beach, and or they want to like go to the waterfall to having fun with the nature, or maybe they want to go to Korea in order to taste Korean food and see their favorite pop star. But at the same time, they may think that before they can go to the place wherever they want to go, they have to earn money first. So if someone want to trade off traveling around the world and they want to earn some money, here is how to make $1,356 in the US. According to this graph, you can see clearly that dark blue represents women and light blue represent men. So the salary gap, the pay gap between men and women, you can see from bachelor degree and advanced degree, the gap is very different. So you need to know that in order to make these amounts of number, you have to graduate. You need to have a bachelor degree in order to earn the amounts of 1,356. But in particular, you have to be born as a male. Next point is about career choices. Many people think that the salary gap between men and women is because of the career choices. Like for women, the majorities of women they chose a lower paying job. We can see that this happens because of the education background. So many family when they have the doctor, some family they cannot afford that doctor to get the higher education, and that is why they just ended up to get like a low paying job such as teaching grade school, or maybe they just owning a very small businesses for just surviving. But if you look at men, they do not face that obstacle like women. They can get access to education easily, and one more thing, they can learn whatever that they want, like engineering or maybe business administration, and that is why they ended up to get a jobs that with a better paying job if you compare to women. According to the research, half of the gender pay gap is due to this factor, but half of the gender pay gap is also because of gender discrimination as well. And another things that I think it's quite interested is because of the child penalty, or because women they kind of like taking care of their children more than men. That is why it is like an obstacle that they sometimes miss the opportunity to get something that they want to do in life. So, ladies and gentlemen, the next point is about the gender gaps over time. What percentage of men income do women earn? So, this graph show the college student, the gender gap in pay be begins with the first job after the graduation. So you might know of a particular woman who was offered a higher salary than most men in her class. Like you can see that many girls they are very smart. They just catch the knowledge and everything very quickly. And you might also think that she might get a higher salary than men in the class. But if this happens, she had to be a smartest. She had to be like better. She had to be have something that unique in order to make the company look good. Because the company they want to have their own reputations of like providing service, or maybe the marketing skill and everything like that. So that is why if you are women you have to work 10 times harder than men. So if this man his education is average, he do not try hard on his study, but if he was employed, it means that he also get the salary as much as the woman who try to work harder. And that is why it is not fair for women in the workplace and also women that work hard in general. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is the last point of my part, which is about top highest paid CEO. If you look at the pictures, you can see that like they are all men. There is no one single woman in this picture. So, as a final indicators of the extent of the US gender pay gap, consider this of the nation top of 500 corporations, only 12 are held by women. This actually means that the business industry, the music industry, the technology industry, most of the industry is dominated by men. That is why some women for their job they cannot get a better like paying job, because like I have mentioned, because of the education, because of the problem that they face, the child penalty and anything like that. And these pictures it just so clearly that the top highest paid CEO in the world, like the top 10, they are all men. There is no one single woman. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to my presentation. And now let's move on to Jing Long part. Thank you.
Good afternoon, teacher, and hello, everyone. My name is Lim Jing Long. Today, I'm gonna present about two main parts. First is the breaking glass ceiling, and the other one is sexual harassment, which is continued from Tai Heng Park previously. Before talking about breaking glass ceiling, we have to know what is glass ceiling. Glass ceiling is the invisible barrier that keeps women from advancing to the top level at work. This is not the result of lacking skill and experience or because they haven't tried hard enough, but it is because of a damaging form of discrimination where they cannot attain the opportunity they see in front of them, despite their should ability and their best effort. Moreover, the glass ceiling is most often associated with women at work. Research suggests that women are 18% less likely to be promoted than male coworkers. And other reason that the glass ceiling is so powerful because women like matter. Since matter can provide opportunity to develop leadership skills that open the door to the executive suite. However, the glass ceiling is cracking now. Some women have broken the glass ceiling through reveal highly motivated individuals with competitive spirit and recreation for the sake of their career advancement. Moreover, most of them also learn to play by main rule, which can make them to develop a style that make more comfortable. For instance, the cracking glass ceiling in politics starts from Hillary Clinton, who is compared to become president in 2016. She's made history by becoming the first female to receive an official nomination by a major political party to be its presidential candidate. She showed the way for future female politicians to run for president as well. And this is one of the best examples of the glass ceiling being broken. In addition, research has found that women who began their career 20 to 30 years ago are now running major divisions in the largest company, and some of them have become the CEO now. Even if the glass ceiling is being broken, women still confront stereotypes of gender that portray them in less favorable than men. So they have to overcome this situation if they want to lead themselves to the top. And now let's move to sexual harassment. Before we are talking about sexual harassment, let me explain what is it. Sexual harassment is the abuse of one position of authority to force sexual demand on someone, which may affect a person's job or school performance, or create a hostile environment. It can also be seen as a form of violence against women and as discriminatory treatment. In general, sexual harassment can take a variety of forms such as forcing somebody to do something they don't want to do, unwanted invitation to go on a date, or unwelcome flirting of a sexual nature, touching or fondling somebody inappropriately, or even sexual abuse or rape. For example, a man touches a woman's shoulder or waist when she walks by. Normally, sexual harassment can take place anywhere, at work, at university, on the street, in a shop, at a club, or while using public transportation, even at home. Basically, it is unwelcome sexual attention that can take place in any public place and also in the private place. Mostly, harasser can be employer, supervisor, work college, client, stranger, relative, or friend, even a person interviewing you for a job. For instance, in workplace, sometimes when someone is looking to receive an advantage, so they may engage in sexual harassment, or when women are asked for sexual favor in return for being given a job, promotion, or raise. With the founding of feminist, women began to perceive unwanted sexual advance at work or school as part of structural problem, and they began to realize that the issue was more than a man doing nasty things because he was attracted to a woman. Rather, men were using their position of authority to pressure women to have sex. However, now women have moved into position of authority, so they have become sexual harassers as well. Moreover, when someone is being sexually harassed, they might feel stressed or depressed, anxious, uncomfortable, embarrassed, threatened, withdraw from society, lost confidence and self-esteem. In the United States, sexual harassment law vary by state. Through all individuals are guaranteed the right to not be discriminated against on the basis of sex, age, disability, color, or religion by federal law, and sexual harassment fall under this protection. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you, teacher and everyone for your attention.
Oh, hello teacher and hello all my classmates. My name is Trilin Saray. I am responsible for the second part of today's presentation, which is about gender and violence. So gender inequality happens anywhere and anytime, but it is more likely to happen to women than men, no matter age, education, employment, or culture they have. So let's move to violence against women. And here are the four features of violence against women. The first one called forcible rape. The second one called date rape or acquaintance rape. The third one called murder. And the last one is violence in the home. Let's move to the first feature, forcible rape. What is forcible rape? Forcible rape is having sexual intercourse with another person, usually female, against their will. So we do it without their permission, and moreover, attempts to rape someone by force are also counted as forcible rape. Here is the table of the relation between age and forcible rape cases. So the highest one is between 16 to 19. So girls or women who are in this age face the most forcible rape, and the least one is 65 and older. And here is the relationship between victim and criminal. So we can see that stranger make up the biggest part of forcible rape, and person who is known where make up the second largest part of forcible rape. So let's move to the second feature, which is called date rape or acquaintance rape. So date rape or acquaintance rape has shocked so many people because it is very common. It is very common in the US. And here is the picture that show the rate of date rape. So the study showed that 8 out of 10 rape are committed by someone know the victim. So we can see that 39% of date rape cases is committed by an acquaintance, and 33% of date rape cases are committed by current or former spouse, boyfriend or girlfriend. So what actually is date rape? So date rape is usually a rape that is prepared by a person who know the victim. So yes, the criminal know the victims. And common example relationship between the victim and criminal are classmate, co-worker, employer, counselor, or even former spouse, boyfriend or girlfriend. But we have found out that many cases are not reported, and the most common reason for not reporting the cases are: the first one is they think that it was not serious enough to report it. The second reason, they are unsure whether a crime has been committed. The third one is that they got no proof. They have no proof to prove their cases. And the last reason is that the victim know the criminal, so they decide not to report it. The third feature is murder. So, what is murder? Murder is the crime of unlawfully killing, especially with malice aforethought. So, in this part, men are more likely than women to be a killer, and the studies show that 9 times out of 10 the killer is a man. Here is the bar chart that shows the relation between killer and victim, and we can see that men make up the highest part of this. And the last feature of violence against women is the violence in the home. Violence in the home is also called domestic violence or family violence. So it is a pattern of behavior in any relationship used to gain or maintain power and control over an intimate partner. In this also, women are the typical victims. So, number 5, talking about feminism and gender violence. So, feminist sociologists have tried effectively in bringing violence against women to the public's attention. So, the feminist sociologists are trying to help women fighting for gender equality. The last point talking about solution. So the solution to solve the issue of gender inequality is this. So these are the reasons that I got from the textbook. So to solve with this problem, we need all educational program that encompasses schools, church, home, and media join and help. And these are the other solution that I got from the internet. So to solve with gender inequality, we have to create law and enforce existing law that protect women from discrimination and violence, including rape, beating, verbal abuse, mutilation, torture, honor killing, and trafficking. Then educate community members on their responsibility under international and national human rights laws. Promote the peaceful resolution of dispute by including the perspective of women and girls. Strengthen women's ability to earn money and support their household by providing skill training for women. Sensitize the public to the disadvantages of early and forced child marriage. Highlight the value of good education or women participation in economic development. Encourage women to participate in the political process and educate the public about the value of women votes. And the last one is to raise public awareness of the poor conditions some women face, particularly in rural areas.
Hello teacher and everyone, my name is Lei An and I will continue the presentation on the point which talk about the changing face in politics. So before I move deep to the main point of my part, I would like to give some information about politics. So first, what is politics? So according to the Cambridge Dictionary, politics refer to the activity of the government, member of lawmaking organization, or people who try to influence the way a country is governed. And to put it simply, politics is a battleground of a politician who has a high responsibility to deal with the issue, the problem that has happened in and outside the country, because the problem that happen will affect to the performance of the country as a whole. And that's it, the definition of politics. So as a citizens or a student, why should we care about politics? And according to the Center Daily Time, there are two main reasons that we as a citizen or student should care about the politics. So first, we have an obligation to know what is going on in our country. For example, the response from the government to contain the spread of COVID-19. As we has already known, the outbreak of virus was in Wuhan, China, but within a month, the virus has spread to more than 50 countries, and within 3 months, the virus spread to almost every country in the world and become a global pandemic. And that is the problems. The problem to the government and politics to design rule, law, and policy to contain the spread of virus into their country. And let's take a look Cambodia as an example. So Cambodia government has responded very fast to contain the virus by restrict the movement of people, cancel Khmer New Year holidays, close school, close entertainment place like club, bar, cinema, and all activity that involve more than 5 to 10 people has been, like wedding, cinema, and so on. Government also advise its citizens to practice social distancing, washing hands, wearing masks to the public, and so on. So here is what we, as a citizen or a student, need to know from the government advice and follow the rule of the government that has been implemented. Otherwise, we will become a citizen who know nothing and behave different from other people in the country. Second, we can seek for the right that we should have. Actually, what I mean is that living in a particular country, we rely solely on the leader, the president, or the prime minister. But all the decision making from the government will affect our life, and not all the decision making from the government benefit to the people or to its citizens. And that is the reason why we can seek for change, seek for our right before the decision making become legal. For example, Hong Kong protests in 2019. So the root cause of the protest is that the Chinese government and Hong Kong government agreed to establish an extradition law which require all prisoners in Hong Kong to be punished and sentenced in China. So once Hong Kong citizens heard about this, they did not agree with that and came together to protest Hong Kong government to stop their action and not comply with this law and require for a democracy in their home country. That is how we as a citizen can make change and seek for what we want. All the point I have mentioned about me that the politics is something that we need to focus on. No need to know everything, but somehow a little bit is better than know nothing. Because the way of the government lead the country, it will shift and affect our life. So now let's move into the main point of my part. As we have learned last week, and my teammate also mentioned about the gender inequality that women who has always been discriminated by the people and the society, like the pay gap, discourage in education, and violence on women, and so on. More than that, women also abolished in the politics as well, which means that the society does not encourage women to work as a leader who took control or govern the country or even work as a minister. So according to the World Economic Forum that published in 2019, it has conducted a survey about the women who has worked in or represent in politics by the region. And as the research has shown us that in North America, there is only around 30.3% that women has been represented in the politics. In Europe, it's around 26.5%. In Sub-Saharan Africa, around 23.8%. In Asia, around 19.7%. In Arab states, around 18.7%. And last but not least, and also the lower percentage of if we compare to other region is about Pacific nation. It's around only 15.5% only. But if we compare to the past or to the last 30 to 40 years ago, I believe that this number is actually has been increased many times, but it still remains low. However, there are still some countries that has a high percentage of women that represent in the politics. So the top three countries, as I have shown in the slide, the first is about Rwanda. So Rwanda has around 60% of the women has been working or represent in the politics. The second country is Cuba, is around 53.22%. In and lastly, the third top three is Bolivia, have 53.03% that have women represented in the politics. And not to mention, these three countries is considered as a developing country. And this means that even developed countries also do not encourage women to work in politics as well. A recent research also shown that in 2020, this year, there are around 20 women whose position as a head of state or head of government. For example, Aung San Suu Kyi as a state councillor of Myanmar, Angela Merkel as a chancellor of Germany, Jacinda Ardern as a New Zealand prime minister, and more. Furthermore, in history, there were 17 nations or states that has women working as the head of state or head of government, like Thaksin Shinawatra as a former Thailand Prime Minister, Theresa May as a former UK Prime Minister, Park Geun-hye as a former President of South Korea, and more. Surprisingly, the US, which considered as the most in the world, has never had women as a president, but there are two women who has most power in the US politics. First, the Nancy Pelosi, who has been chosen as the Speaker of the House of the Representatives in the US since 2002, which have the most powerful woman in the country in the US. Second, Hillary Clinton, who becoming the president tall nominee of the Democratic Party in 2008 and become a presidential candidate in 2016. And that is the two lady or two women that have most powerful in the US. And also, according to the Center for American Women and Politics, has shown that in 2019, in the US, there are only 126 women out of 535 seats that involved in the politics, which accounted for only 23.6% in that year. So here is the table that shows us about the percentage of women who were elected office in the US. And if we take a quick look, there is no more than 30% in the table. But somehow this table shows us that it has been increasing slowly. So like in the US Congress in 2009, there is only 16.8%, but in 2019, there is around 23.6%. In the statewide elective in 2009, there is around 22.6%, and in 2019, there is increased to 29.3%. And in state legislature in 2009, there is around 24.3%, but it increased to 28.9% in 2019. So this number, I believe that it still remain low, but somehow it's better because we can see the increase. But the increase rate is very low. But somehow it's very good, and that is what I want to show. Yes. So according to the equality princess has raised three barriers of the woman to enter to the political state. So the first one is about the institutional structure or policy. So institutional barrier refer to a systematic structure or policy based a barrier that hinder women to participate in politics. So basically, different countries have different voting system, and that voting system will affect the result of the voting. For example, in the US, there is a basic single-member district system used to elect members of the House of Representatives. So this type of system is more likely beneficial to men because an area can have several voting districts and voters from each district cast a vote for their preferred district representative. Moreover, the winner is chosen by the plurality of the vote rather than the majority of the vote. And as a result, it is hard for women to break into this type of system and got elected. And I believe that it is very hard to understand this type of system, but just to remember that the institution of each country will design a voting system that favor to the current government. And in the US, there is always man become president, and there is no woman become a president in the United States. Second, it is about the social. So the idea of the society that woman has their own role in the house as a mother or wife and taking care of the house. To put it simply, woman's role is to work indoor while men are work outdoor and maintain a high position in the society. So this idea still remain in almost every society and every country, and it is hard for women to take step in the politics. And last but not least, it is about the psychological or motivational factor. So sometimes women are working very hard to in order to work in politics, but there is no motivation at all. But instead, they receive a criticism. Hillary Clinton, for example, received a lot of criticism for not being human enough and for being too vocal and too insensitive. So this shows that women are not encouraged to work in politics even they have been trying. Above all are the barrier that women still cannot participate in the politics. So there are some possible ways to increase the number of women in politics. So first, it is about education. So education is very important for women, and especially we encourage all the women to learn the course about international relation or international politics because they will get more knowledge about the world, the structure, the system, and the way the country behave. And I believe that women who learn or study other field like business, finance, banking are also good, but somehow is not fit in the political field. Therefore, we encourage women to access in education, but if you want to involve in politics, you should choose the course that related to the politics. Second, we should ensure the women's rights in politics. So this means that we have to encourage the right of women to participate in politics, right to vote, in ending the inequality gap of the women in politics. Third, we have to encourage women. So this means that we have to support what women do, and especially in the politics. And we are not allowed to criticism or focus on the traditional idea that women have a role as a mother or wife. So we have to abolish all of that idea. And last but not least, we have to set a specific amount of seat for women. So for example, if we happen to vote uh, in the to select the representative, like we have 100 seats, so we have to divide 50 for men, 50 for women. So that kind of action, I believe that it will very effective enough to get more attention from women and give an equal right to women to participate in the politics. And that pretty much from me, and I would like to invite um, the next presenter to continue the presentation of my team. Thank you.
Hello teacher, hello everyone. My name is Chiu Kim Chua and I am the last presenter of group 4 and I'm responsible for the last part, which is glimpsing the future with hope. So before we talk about gender gap in the future, we have to take a look back in the past about the gap between men and women. So in the past, women couldn't go to school and just spend time in the kitchen. And some traditional stereotype in Cambodia is women was just a wife and a mother who kept the fireplace and ran the house. So it means girl couldn't go to school and women couldn't go to workplace. And they have to take a good care of their children also. Moreover, women and girls were traditionally expected to be modest, soft-spoken, light workers, well-mannered, industrious, and so on. And some traditional belief is women had to have meal after her husband, especially in India. In short, women were belong to the household and act as the family's caregiver and caretakers, and perform as preserver of the home and as servant to her husband. Anyway, women have to take it for granted. While for men, they have to go to work and they can also join the politics. So, because the gap between men and women is not that close, and it seemed like unfair for these both genders, so it became gender inequality. So, in the previous time, gender inequality were likely to happen more than nowadays. So, let's move to the gender gap in nowadays. So nowadays women are likely to participate in society than the previous time. As we can see in the picture, by the number percentage of college students who are women in 1970 is 42% and now 57%, and percentage of dental school graduate who are women in 1970 is only 1%, but now it increased to 45%. And percentage of medical school graduate who are women in 1970 is 8% and now 49%. And women make up this percentage of the U.S. labor force in 1890 is 18% and in 1970 is 38% and now it increased to 45%. And the percentage of men's salary earned by women in 1970 is 59% and now it is 70%. And for other numbers, number of U.S. senators in 1789, men is 1,800 and women is 38. Moreover, in 2019, the global participation rate of women in national level parliament is 24.5%, while in 2013, women accounted for of all national leaders and 2% of all presidential posts. So, due to the increasing of women full participation, the stereotypes that tended to limit females to feminine activities and push male into masculine has shattered. However, although women have equal status with men, they face both direct and indirect discrimination, often due to gender stereotypes that are deeply rooted in society. So in short, gender equality is a bit improving nowadays, but it is still a problem that likely to happen anytime and any place. So it needs to be more improving in the future. Now let's glimpse to the future about the gender gap. So the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report 2020 found that there is still a long way to go to achieve worldwide gender parity, and the gap was calculated by WEF is to take 108 years to close the overall gender gap. It means that parity between men and women across health, education, work, and politics will take more than a lifetime to achieve. Anyway, as females and males develop a new consciousness, both of their capacities and of their potential, relationships will change and gender equality will also improve gradually. So this is the end of our group presentation, and thank you guys for your attention.